That would be a good question. Tarzan, I guess. I never really thought about, who, if I had a choice, who I would pick to be Richard Petty. And, it'd be a decision, I guess, that whoever's doing the movie would have to make that decision.
Well, I don't know where you know it or not, but they made a movie and Richard played himself. That wasn't very good, but it was himself. And me and Maurice was in it for just one little session when he was supposed to got hurt at Darlington and was in the hospital. And we done our session one time and they said it was good. And them professional actors, they do their 8 and 10 times. And I guess they knowed they was getting all out of me and Morris, so going to. So we just done it one time.
There's a bunch, you know what I mean? Some of them good, some of them bad. I guess probably the worst deal we had was we was racing each other coming back from Rowman one night, probably 11:30. Soda shop was closed down, so we all come home. And we was racing up the road, and I don't know, some car, I pulled out to go around Dale, and there was a car at the bottom of the hill. And so I locked the brake up and spun out. Dale run the guy off the road. And so, we stopped, we talked to each other, come on up the road. Got up to about half mile from where we turned off to go home. And here come two cars around the corner side by side. I hit the brake and I spin out again. Okay. Don't hit nothing. And then I think the next day we was in, I think I was in the 52 Chrysler. And that's what Daddy towed the race car with. And so the next day we was going to go to, I think, Hickory or somewhere.
It went to Hickory.
And so we hooked the race car up, went down the road, and the car went boop, 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 because it flattened the tires. Daddy wanted to know what we'd been doing the night before.
Oh, boy. I remember that night because I don't know how we got through it, but as we topped the hill and started down the end grind, there was a pickup down there going with no tail lights. His arm out the window going to turn left. And Richard was running with his lights out behind me, driving on my lights, and I could see him in my tail lights. And two cars coming, and I think I run both of them off the road. And I think once Richard got stopped, headed back towards Rowman, one of them stopped, said, "Want to know if that damn fool hit you? Ain't that what they said?" or something. And then he mentioned the second time we spun out, or he spun out. I'm a better driver than he is. And he said, "Let's try to get these damn things on before we wreck them again."
I don't know what they do to it. All I know is when I sit down, they usually got a turkey on the deal. And sometimes they let me whack at it. Sometimes it's already cut up. And I don't know whether it's fried or baked or, skittled or what. As long as it tastes good, I'm pretty happy with it.
My mother always baked a turkey mainly for Christmas, not so much for Thanksgiving, but she baked them, and of course she had a big dinner. But the dressing, it was what I really liked with the giblet gravy. I believe we mentioned that last week, but that's my favorite, the salad dressing.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen a lot of Western movies, good ones, bad ones, in between bad ones. But, I guess, there's two or three guys that I really like to watch on TV or watching the movies, but for having a favorite, I really never had a favorite.
Well, I hadn't been to the movie probably in 25 or 30 years, I know, but used to when there was going to be a John Wayne movie coming out or a Roy Rogers or maybe a Gene Autry, they'd start advertising it 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time at the theaters in Greensboro. And, of course, we had drive-ins back then, too, and you had something to look forward to, but I guess John Wayne, and, of course, I remember Hopalong Cassidy and all that, so... But that's the memories I have of it.
Chess? I can play checkers. And I'm not good at that. Playing chess. I guess growing up, I never heard the word. We lived out in the country, and they didn't have TV and all that kind of stuff. So I don't even know how old I was before I found out there was a game of chess.
I've never played chess. Don't even when I see it somebody on television playing or something, I don't understand none of it. But if me and Richard played checkers, I'm sure one of us would try to cheat the other one.
Probably. Well, there's probably a couple of them. Dale's mentioned before the one in Wisconsin. What was it? The mile track. Milwaukee. Milwaukee Mile. Probably the biggest one that I would like to run at Indianapolis. We were in a racetrack in California, Ontario, that was somewhat, it was built like it, but still yet, when you went to one and went to the other, they was completely different. And so I never got to run at Indy. I know we give a car to the museum up there, and I did take the car around, I think I run 150 mile an hour or something like that. But as far as racing, I would really like to have run at Indy, because I think the Dale's set up and the way the Chief done the engine and stuff, I think we could have really run good there.
Yeah, he's mentioning that, but the Milwaukee Mile, it was a USAC track, and it was flat, but we're probably talking about, and you are too, in the front torsion bars days, and I just think with his driving style and the way we could get a car around on a flat track, that would have been great. But he mentioned Indy. That would have been just a big prestige thing, Richard, and when we first started going there, a big crowd.
I guess the first race we run at Daytona, 1979.
78.
And, he'd never been on a racetrack. We went down and practiced a couple of times and tested down there. And then he ran the race, and he was in the 78 Dodge. And halfway through the 78 season, the car was so bad that we decided to park it and went into the Chevrolet business. And we never won a race in 78, but probably because of the changes in this. But we just never could get the car run good sometimes. Most of the time it was terrible.
Well, it drove good, but
it drove good, just wouldn't run fast enough. But then we fixed the car up. Kyle finally talked him into working on the car, and he wanted to run the ARCA race at Daytona. I said, okay. So we took him down there and nagged him. I think he probably had the second or third fastest car, and the thing worked out anyhow. He just did win the race, but he also won it. So, taking your son to a racetrack, getting in a race car the first time and then winning the race, whether you lucked into it or not, that had to be a big thrill.
he wasn't my son, but I was part of that big deal. But like Richard said, we had to park I don't believe we ever won a race with a Magnum. He might have been the only person that ever won a race with a Magnum. But we take him down there, and they just had paved a track, and they brought the Talladega tire, which was pretty hard, but the track with the new surface had so much grip that it was just steering and kind of pointing it, and he qualified 192 mile an hour, 18-year-old, and never been on a racetrack no more. I know he probably run fast on the highway, but I ain't gonna get into that. But I told him, I said, now, Kyle, you'll have a hard time coming off the racetrack and getting in the pits, because after running 190 mile an hour, you kind of adjust to that speed. And I'm pretty sure we had drum brakes at that time. And I said, you're going to have to start braking early. And, of course, Kyle was like, he knew about everything when he was 18-year-old, and still does, But he looked at me like, you don't know what you're talking about. So we had tested, and he had run pretty good. And I said, okay, Kyle, we'll practice pit stop. So he went out and running, and I counted him down with the radio, and I said, okay, pit. And he come by, and I had the blackboard out. He went by me running about 100 mile an hour on pit road. And he went down there and finally got it stopped, got out of the car, and said, you moved. It wasn't me. It wasn't him. It was me. And, yeah, I remember it very distinctly. But we took him to Charlotte and tried to get him into Charlotte race. Boy, that's another story.
He was something else, a self-promoter. I always looked at him, sort of like the wrestlers are now, jumps up and does all the deal. But the deal with him was he was a winner. I mean, won 14, 15 championships, all this stuff. And then his family come along, so finally give it up and let them take over. But, just being around him was a show. And, you walk in, he walks in, and he just takes over. Okay. So I was always in his shadow. When he was around, I was always in his shadow.
I've just only met him a time or two, and I never went around like Richard was, but Kyle's somewhat like that. When he comes in, he takes over the show too, so me and Richard just kind of stand back. But I've met him a time or two. I don't think I've ever seen him race or anything, but he really brought drag racing along.